Shri Gauranga Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Jaya Radhe Jaya Krishna Jaya Vrindavan Shri Govinda Gopinath Madana Mohan. Picking up where we left off of the Jaiva Dharma, chapter 32, and the subject matter basically is Krishna, the hero of Vraj. And Gopal Guru Goswami continues that material Maya cannot touch Krishna's pastimes. Though Krishna's pastimes may take place in Vraj of the material world, they are completely beyond matter. Another name of the Chit Shakti is Yoga Maya. She manifests arrangements in Krishna's pastimes, so that the pastimes appear to be something else to the eyes of materialistic persons. In other words, Krishna appears here, but materialists cannot understand. They'll see it as material, whereas those who have their eyes open spiritually can understand that Krishna and all of his leelas are transcendental and have nothing to do with this material world. It is created by Krishna's own divine potency called Yoga Maya. Bringing the conception of being married to another person in Golok, along with the Nitya Priya Gopis, she establishes that conception with separate forms of husbands in Vraj. So that type of Leela, Parakiya Leela, can go on. She arranges for the gopis to marry these forms of husbands and makes Krishna into a upapati, or a divine lover. The omniscient Lord and the omniscient Shaktis, absorbed in their individual rasas, accept this perception. This shows the excellence of ras and the supreme excellence of the Icha Shakti of independent Krishna. Because this is Krishna's will. Krishna wants to play in this manner. So who can restrict Krishna? He is the supreme independent. He can play as he likes to play. And so he arranges these divine leelas where the devotees absorb themselves in the highest loving mood, feeling themselves to be somewhat trapped by husband at home, but wanting to be with Krishna. And so this leads to the intensification of their own divine love. This excellence does not exist in Vaikuntha or Dwarka. This is only found in Vraj. This is the unique position of Vraj. When the Prana Sakis attain Salokya with the Nitya Priya Sakis, their restricted notion of having a husband broadens and becomes Upapati Bhav. And thus they attain their final attainment. Vijay Kumar said, "Oh, this is a remarkable conclusion. My pran, my life airs are completely enlivened. Please teach me something about these Nitya Priyas." Goswami said, "If I had not attained such a qualified student as you, how would Gaurachandra reveal such deep topics in my mouth?" In other words, by the mercy of Gaurachandra, I am able to speak something, but only because I also have such a qualified student as you before me. He's allowing me to speak in this way. Otherwise, I may restrict my own speaking to certain areas of Tattva. But you're bringing out the highest truth, the highest Tattva of Vraj Ras, because of you being qualified and by the mercy of Gauranga. Omniscient Jiva Goswami, though hiding the topics in his heart, deliberated on these topics to some extent in various places. We see this is also the case with some of the Goswamis. Jiva Goswami did not come out directly to describe these intimate pastimes of Krishna being the lover of gopis who were considered married to others. It says here, he was hiding these topics in his heart. By reading his commentaries in the Krishna Sandarbha and other works, you can understand them. But those who are qualified will understand exactly what he's saying, even though It is not presented as such to the public at large. He was always worried that later some unqualified people would take the confidential topics and produce some distorted dharma. In the mood of trying to protect these highest truths and to protect, in one sense, the reputation of Krishna and his devotees, he wanted to keep the subject matter hidden, only for those who are qualified. And here, Gopal Guru Goswami says, in the same way, I have not spoken these truths freely to everyone, but you have come before me as a qualified student, and I am feeling inspired by the mercy of Shri Gaurangadev to speak these truths. Jiva Goswami was worried about the distortion of the truth of Ras and Rasa Bas that one may see in other sampradayas, distorted truths. Though carefully, he could not prevent that misfortune. Though careful, he tried, but this is the world, and someone's always going to distort the truth. Those who are distorted in mind will distort the truth. Though careful, he could not prevent that misfortune. You should not reveal the conclusion to anyone unless qualified. Now, saying that, I will speak about the Nityapriyas. Vijay Kumar said, so who are the Nityapriyas? Though I have read many scriptures, I desire to obtain nectar from the mouth of you, O Gurudev. Goswami says, Radha and Chandravalli are said to be the chief Nityapriyas of Braj. Like Krishna, they are the shelter of eternal beauty, grace, and other qualities. They are described as follows in the Brahma Samhita 537. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pati Bhavatabis Tabirya Eva Nitya Rupataya Kalavahi Goloka Eva Nivashati Akilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Prusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship that Supreme Lord Govinda, who, though regarding all the inhabitants as his very self, resides in Golok exclusively with the young gopis, who are all embodiments of that Madhurya Ras. He accepts them as his consorts, while they respond to his conjugal affection reciprocally. When Ananda Angsa, that bliss portion of the Satchidananda, Krishna agitates the Chit Angsa, that knowledge portion, Radha and other women nourish the splendor of Hladini. That is the potency of pleasure giving. They live to give pleasure to Krishna. And this is the highest aspect of Krishna. We may identify him as Satchidananda Vigraha. He's eternal, full of knowledge. But what is the most important? One can exist, one can have wisdom, but if there's no joy there, what is the meaning? Satchidananda. Therefore, Ananda is the highest aspect of reality, the highest aspect of Krishna, and it is manifested within Radha and extends out to the other gopis of Braj. Vijay Kumar said, I desire to hear the names of these Nityapriya gopis. Goswami says the Nityapriyas are mentioned in the Prahlad Samhita of the Skanda Puran. They are Radha, Chandravalli, Vishaka, Lalita, Shama, Padma, Shaibya, Bhadrika, Tara, Vichitra, Gopali, Dhanishta, and Palika. How are they related to each other? They are all group leaders. They're all qualified in their own sense. Those endowed with the highest fortune are the eight headed by Radha. There are many different groups, but the highest group is identified with Radharani, which extends out into eight specific groups. Vijay Kumar said, Lalita, Vishaka, Padma, and Shaibya are principal gopis, and they're especially skillful at nourishing Krishna's pastimes. Why are they not clearly designated as group leaders themselves. Goswami says they are qualified to be group leaders, being endowed with all good qualities. But Lalita and Vishaka, absorbed in the highest bliss of Radha, do not desire to be independent leaders. In other words, they could have their own groups of gopis and be independent lovers of Krishna, but Lalita and Vishaka are so much absorbed in their love for Radha, actually it takes precedence over their love for Krishna. They rather serve Radharani and see to her happiness than have their own group and independently enjoy with Krishna. This is the mentality of those exalted gopis who are identified with Radharani's Gana group. They do not desire to be independent leaders. Some principal gopis follow Radha's Sakhis, while others may follow Chandravali. This is described in the scriptures. Vijay Kumar then asked, Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, is the crest jewel of all scriptures within this world. It would be very blissful if all the names were there. Goswami says, though Bhagavatam is a scripture of tattva, it is also a notion of ras. In the judgment of Rasikas, all rasa tattva is to be found within the Bhagavatam. But it is also a scripture of tattva. That means it reveals divine truths. Some shastras are described as rasa tattva, describing only Krishna's pastimes and like that. Then there are those that are described with knowledge of tattva. Bhagavatam serves both purposes. Therefore, the name of Radha and the bhav of all the gopis are known in the Bhagavatam only in a hidden way. Shukadeva Goswami has revealed it, but in a hidden way. One has to have the qualification to understand these truths of the Rasa Tattva that is found within the Bhagavatam with one's eyes opened up with divine love. Then one will see how the Bhagavatam is full of ras. But otherwise, in the beginning we see that it is a Tattva Shastra, teaching us the truths of Krishna consciousness and the basic tattvas of Krishna consciousness. If you deliberate nicely on the verses of the 10th canto, specifically 10th canto, one will obtain all of that. You have to deliberate, he says nicely. You have to search it out and reflect on what is actually being said there. Shukadeva spoke this in a hidden way in order to keep it far from unqualified people, like Jaiva Goswami himself did. So Jaiva Goswami followed in the footsteps of Shukadeva, that these are not truths to be broadcast everywhere, because there are unscrupulous persons who will misuse those things. So those who are qualified will understand the ras that is there within the Bhagavatam, just as those who study Jaiva Goswami's writings and are qualified will understand the nature of Parakiya Bhav also. So you should keep this type of information from unqualified persons. Oh Vijay, if one gives beads and confidential topics to unqualified persons, what will be the result? If we give initiation to anyone and everyone who is not qualified, then what will be the result? The reader can understand the confidential topics to the extent of his own advancement. Thus it is wise to speak in a hidden way, so that the topics are not revealed to all. One will understand the topics for which one is qualified. It's a good point. If one is qualified, one will understand. If one does not have the qualification, one will not understand anyway. And if you try to bring that out to unqualified persons, they will distort it. One will understand the topics for which one is qualified. One cannot understand the Vastu Tattva except by the Guru Parampara. If one understands otherwise, it will have no effect. And it must be received through the line of bona fide gurus. Otherwise, some people here, there, everywhere talking about Krishna, and they read this, and they talking to you about what they read here, what they read there. They have no realization. It's just something they read, and they're sharing their information that they, I read this, isn't it so sweet, or this or that. But they have no insight to the reality of that. It is just a story to them. And thus it has no real effect. Understand Ujjvala Nilamani well, the writing of Rupa Goswami, and you will obtain the ras of the Bhagavatam. If you study the Bhagavatam along with the study of Ujjvala Nilamani of Rupa Goswami, you'll understand the nature of that divine rasa tattva. As this conversation took a long time, the discussion stopped there on that day. Vijay Kumar, meditating on the subject of ras, concerning the hero and the heroine in the spiritual world, then left for Harachandi Sahi. He began to feel happiness on remembering all the information given to him by his Gurudev, deliberating on the flute as the divine messenger, Swayam Duti. He began to weep incessantly. The supreme bhav of Vraja arose in his heart, and it made him dance in bliss. The pastime he had seen the previous night when he was traveling through the forest there, while going to Sundarachala, arose again in his heart in a graphic manner. Chapter 32 ends there. We'll go on a little bit into chapter 33. It is also a continuation of the subject matter of Madhurya Ras, but it describes more now the nature of Radha, the Sakhis, and the messengers. Vijay Kumar and Brajanath bathed in the Indradyumna Sarovara that morning. On returning to their residence, they took prasad. After eating, Brajanath went to see Haridas Thakur's samadhi. Vijay Kumar then went to Radhakant Mat and offered his respects to his guru. At the proper time, Vijay Kumar asked about Radha. He said, "O Prabhu, the daughter of Brishabhanu is our very life. When I hear her name, somehow my heart melts. Even though our only goal is Krishna, I like to taste his pastimes with Radha. I do not like topics of Krishna where Radha is not mentioned. There may be many stories, but one who has actually developed Radha Bhav wants to hear only those pastimes where Krishna is interacting with Radharani. They may not be so much, they'll give respect, of course, but may not be so much inclined to hearing about the motherly affection of Krishna and this and that. They want to hear about the intimacy of Radha and Krishna, nor do they want to hear of any other gopi. They'll cover their ears if another gopi is who is competing for Krishna from Radharani. They'll cover their ears. Do not want to hear. We only want to hear about Radharani and those who are connected to Radharani. So, I like to taste pastimes with Krishna and Radha. I do not like topics of Krishna where Radha is not mentioned. I do not like to be known as Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya. I don't want that name anymore, being identified as a Brahmin, a Bhattacharya. I don't like that anymore. I want to be identified with a name that identifies me with Radha and service to Radharani. I want to be known as a Palyadasi, a servant who remains under the shelter and protection of Radhika. Another astonishing fact is that I do not like to speak about Braj with materialistic people. I want to leave the gatherings where people without ras describe the glories of Krishna. Sometimes I find myself in an assembly and they have no taste. They're speaking about Krishna, but they know nothing of Krishna, really. Goswami said, you are very fortunate. As long as you do not have faith, that you are a woman of Braj, the qualifications for the topics about the pastimes of Radha and Krishna will not arise. So there is a mysterious understanding here. One has to feel oneself to be feminine in regard to Braj Ras, to actually taste this, because you're entering into the sweet pastimes of Radha and Krishna in the mood of Gopi Bhav. So he says, as long as you desire this, this qualification for the topics of Radha and Krishna will not arise unless you have faith that you are a woman of Braj, a Gopi of Braj. Therefore, you don't like the title, Vijay Kumar Bhattacharya. What is that? That is some designation within the material world. But to be identified with the divine Leelas of Krishna, one has to accept initiation and receive that name which identifies us with those Leelas. In speaking about the women of Braj, among them, Radha and Chandravali are the chief. They both have millions of groups of young women. At the time of Maharas dance, hundreds of millions of gopis came together and gave splendor to the Ras arena. Vijay Kumar said, "Oh, Prabhu, listen. Leaving aside the millions of groups under Chandravali, please purify and fill my contaminated ears with Ras by speaking about the glories of Radharani. I am surrendered to you. I don't want to hear about other gopis and their relationships with Krishna. I only want to hear about Radha." So in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, certainly we are followers of Radha and Krishna. We serve Krishna in the mood of Radha as young Manjari girls in the line of the 8 principal Sakhis of Radharani, headed by Lalita and Vishaka and so forth. So naturally, the followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu do not want to hear anything outside of Radharani, anything outside, any other group, any other follower, no, only Radha. Therefore, we see in Braj, what is the chant? Radhe, 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 Radhe. We are followers of Radha. We give our hearts to Radharani. That is the mood of the followers of Sri Chaitanya. Radhe, Radhe. We say Hare Krishna, and Hare means Radha. We say Hare Rama, and Hare means Radha, who enjoys with the supreme enjoyer, that Radha Raman. So, this is the subject matter in which we are headed now, to hear about the glories of Radharani, because this is the most important subject matter, because it is the principal aspect of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya headed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll stop here, pick it up again in our next reading, and hear about the glories of Srimati Radharani. Jai Shri Shri Radhe Shyam, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.